what he can do. Because I feel like we've seen it in sparks and little glimpses here and there, but it's time to really kick on. And we'll just see. But speaking of Kai Havertz, what do you make of the news of Jay? You know, Kai Havertz apparently is progressing quite well. How you feeling?
Yeah, like obviously you're itching to hear the announcement because it's like you just want it to be done now, innit? Because there's so many reports of they're kind of like the same thing, innit, over and over again, but just worded differently, and you're almost like, all right, cool. I don't want to know. I just want to see him in a Chelsea shirt now. But
Right.
the deals like this are massive, innit? And we've seen, you know, the Pogbas and like these massive signings like the Virgil van Dijks. They drag on, but eventually they do get done, innit? It's just a thing where it's a massive amount of money. Do you get what I'm saying? He's a very young, talented player that a lot of people are after. It's got to be the perfect deal, innit? For all parties in terms of buyer, like in terms of Leverkusen, in terms of Chelsea, in terms of Havertz. So I think it's not something that's not going to be rushed. However, it does seem like it's probably, you know, I'd say it's not this week, but because obviously come tomorrow it'll be Friday and nothing really gets announced on the weekend. But probably next week, maybe towards the end of next week, I wouldn't be surprised to see it done.
It's looking promising. Obviously, Kai Havertz, like the news that we've been hearing throughout the last couple of weeks, have been pushing really hard to come to the club, which is fantastic for me. It's fantastic to hear, to see how desperate he is to move, because his apparently what his mentality is that I want to get started here as early as possible, and I guess that's before the Premier League starts. He doesn't want to, not that he's not going to have a pre-season, but the fact that he's just not going to be able to bed in. You know, you want to have that bedding in period. I guess.
You want to get them young link ups in training.
Yeah, man, quickly, man. But so Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech have had that little bedding in period. So I think Havertz wants to come in. It makes sense. It makes complete and utter sense. You know, he wants to come in, you know, get his feet wet a little bit and kind of understand his teammates. So it makes perfect.
I think Aspie's already mentioned as well, like about the other two saying, you know, we've seen what they're on, kind of thing. like they already know how they play. Yeah. They've kind of got an idea of, you know, what they're about, which already that sounds good, because it's like, well, boy, they've already sound like they're gelling already. Mm-hmm. So it's like with Havertz, especially where he's a little bit younger than the other two as well, you'd want him to come in pretty early on, kind of forget about the whole fee as well, because that's probably going to linger about for a bit as well, you know, the whole transfer fee.
You know what? I feel like with the younger players, I don't think the fee really gets to them that much, really and truly. I think it becomes I feel like when you're an established pro and you're bought for a massive fee, I think that's where it starts to weigh on you a lot, because expectations of you are quite different. Because I feel like a lot of people aren't going to be expecting the world from Kai Havertz right now, because they know he's only 21 years. He's only 21 years old. Whereas you're buying a 26-year-old for £100 million, they're going to be thinking, okay, the same, you know, I'm expecting everything from you now. You're not young, you know. So when you look at the Maratas, for me, well, you bought Morata for £60 million, bought at 24, 25 years old. You're thinking, okay.
More pressure.
I've got a lot more questions. There's a lot more pressure on you. So it's interesting. One caveat I do have, though, and one reservation I do have, is that the fact that Kai Havertz is pushing hard for this move, what's to say that in 5 years from now, you know, where Real Madrid, God forbid, Real Madrid come calling, and he's on the flight. Well, he might have renewed midway through that. You know, we have like 2-3 more years left on his deal. Real Madrid come calling in 2025, and Kai Havertz is like, right, I'm off. Pushing. I'm as much as I appreciate and love the fact that he wants to come here, this might be indicative of his character. And I don't want to call his character into question. I don't want to say that this is what he's about, but it's something that I'm wary of, you know what I mean? Because in the moment that the players start pushing really hard, I start to think, ooh, what are they like? You know, is this what they're like when they don't get what they want? Really?
What I will say, I hear you on that though, because Chelsea have been a club like that as well. Like as much success as we've had, and as much as we're a big club now, I feel like we do still have that. There's always that extra step from Chelsea in it.
Of course.
Like there always is. So it's just something you have to accept in football at the moment. But what I will say is that I would learn from the Hazard situation, and what we didn't do with Hazard was we didn't give him enough of these kind of players, like the Ziyechs, the Werners around him. So if we can stay consistent with the, because this feels different, these transfer windows. I don't know why, they just feel a little bit different. They feel a little bit more ambitious. They feel a little bit more, I don't know, man, like the transfers are more appealing to me. So I feel like...
That's what it is, bro. Player taste.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? So
we've got a manager whose taste just lines with ours. I get it, bro. I get it. It's been a long time. I can't lie. It's been a long time.
He was the Dior and that. So yeah. I want the Dior and that, the Chanel and that, so it's calm. I'm happy, bro. You get me?
G no more, bro. We're not shopping.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Conte coming with all that Max flavor and them things.
We're shopping in Chanel, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean, man? We're shopping in fucking DNG, bro. The building shit, man. The Zappa Costas and all them, man. Now we're getting Chanel, getting some Dior. You know what I mean?
So it's like it's a thing where, so it's a thing where I think if we surround him with enough of them guys, like gradually, like because like you said, he's young, innit? 21 years old. Come, he does go to renew, like say for example, in 3 or 4 years, if he does fortunately renew with us because we've won a couple of trophies or whatever, let's not do what we did with Hazard and do the little, you know, the 1 or 2 like mediocre or. Oh yeah, he'll just about do for Hazard kind of thing. Let's go like ham and try and support him with more players that are on the same level. Do you get what I'm saying?
I get
Plus the youngsters that have got the you know, that world class potential as well. Because I have to accept not all the youngsters are gonna cut it, but there's also enough of them that can be good enough for the squad and come in and do a good job. There's enough of them to go on and be world class. So yeah, I think it's a very, very different time in terms of moving forward.
I guess my concerns could be like, you know, allayed a little bit.
It's still there though.
Yeah,
if Real Madrid come in,
exactly. That fear will always be there, and I guess that's an inferiority complex. So I know that Real Madrid and Barcelona are superior sides, and there always will be a superior club, and always will be revered in that way. One thing I can say though is that this is a new gen. To be perfectly honest, I think Hazard's generation is probably the last generation of, oh wow, Real Madrid are this, Real Madrid are that, Real Madrid are this, Real Madrid are that. Whereas the generation like Kai Havertz, Sancho, Hudson's, Vinicius, all these kind of players, for example, growing up, they'll be looking at the Chelseas, the Manchester Uniteds as the teams that were super successful in the early 2000s and stuff. So they're thinking, okay, yeah, you know what? These are the teams I followed because back then, those were the teams to play for. You get what I'm trying to say? So it might work in our favor, really. It might switch, but Real Madrid is still Real Madrid, Barcelona is still Barcelona. So you don't know. But you're right, though. I feel like what you said was quite perfect in regards to the period that we're entering in now is so new and so unique because where our team is, like you say, we're shopping in Harrods now because we're looking at the team of Werners, we're looking at the Hakim Ziyech. You can add Pulisic to that, Havertz, in terms of the attack. So I get it. In terms of quality, it makes sense, you know. So it won't be a Hazard or bust or Havertz or bust situation or Werner or bust, you know. You'll have other players that could probably supplement and help when these players have off days, which they'll.
You talk about it all the time. Talk about it all the time. Them men are going to share the load, isn't it? You always say it. Like these guys are going to share the load. They're not going to. It's not going to be a thing where Havertz has to bang 20 goals and get 15 assists for us to even be competing. I don't
Exactly.
think it's going to be
Everyone
anywhere
will be
near that.
sharing. Everyone will be
Mm.
eating, hopefully. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and that could even be like Callum Hudson, that could even be Christian Pulisic. They will all be sharing the load and sharing the work rate. So we'll see, man. But speaking of shopping in Harrods and now regressing back to